We are entering week 12 of the college football season, and so many teams are walking the tightrope right now. No more wiggle room. One slip up can end an entire season, so the stakes are super high. Before we get into it, please like, comment, subscribe. It would mean a lot to me and this channel, so let's go ahead and get right into it, starting with Georgia versus Texas. And I've said it a million times, it is not easy to go on the road in the SEC and win games. And Texas is about to learn that the hard way when they walk into Sanford Stadium at night to play Georgia. Texas has not been good on the road all season. They lost to Ohio State on the road, they lost to Florida on the road, and they barely escaped Mississippi State and Kentucky on the road. And Georgia is better than Florida. They're better than Mississippi State, and they're better than Kentucky. They beat all those teams. So we know that. Georgia hardly ever loses at home. That environment is going to be insane, and Texas is already a team that racks up a ton of penalties. So the atmosphere alone could be a massive factor in this game. And I'll spoil it early. I am picking Georgia in this game. I have watched a worse Georgia team be a better Texas team twice last year. Once on the road and once in the SEC championship game. So I know that these are different teams than they were last season, but those data points still matter to me because the staffs are the same, essentially. At the end of the day, I trust Kirby Smart and his staff more than I trust Steve Sarkisian and his, even if Mike Bobo drives me insane sometimes. And I also trust Gunnar Stockton more than I trust Arch Manning, and I trust Georgia's culture more than whatever Texas is building right now. Both of those teams are peaking right now, so I do have to give some credit to Texas. They probably need this win more than Georgia does for their playoff chances, but the matchup just favors Georgia. Georgia's secondary has been vulnerable for sure. They have not been getting pressure. They haven't been able to generate sacks, and they just haven't been disrupting quarterbacks. But Texas's offensive line is extremely vulnerable, and I think Georgia might actually get more pressure and penetration that we've seen all season long. And Texas has not been able to run the ball very well at all this year either. So now they're facing up against a pretty elite run defense. So this sets up for a situation where Texas has to put everything on Arch Manning's shoulders. And that's when they're going to become one-dimensional. And when they become one-dimensional, things usually go bad for Texas. Arch, he's going to hit some plays because there's always plays to be had against this Georgia secondary. But I don't think it's going to be enough because Texas' secondary is actually even worse than Georgia's, and I trust Gunnar to take advantage of that. Plus, Georgia has a top 25 rushing unit. They might struggle a little bit against an elite Texas front, but I do think they'll find enough success on the ground to get it done here. At the end of the day, Georgia is a better team. They have the better staff, and they have the massive home field advantage. And Georgia is Georgia. They're incredibly hard to beat, even when it looks like they are pushed to the ropes. So give me the dogs all day long. Moving on to Oklahoma versus Alabama, and this one is really interesting to me because Oklahoma is going on the road here, and I'm not saying that this is Alabama's last true road test or last true test in general because anything can happen in the Iron Bowl, but this definitely feels like the most losable game left on their schedule. Oklahoma is starting to find a real ground game to pair with John Mateer and that passing attack. And defensively, they are flat out elite, especially against the run. That could be very dangerous for Alabama. I think Oklahoma might be one of the best, if not the single best defensive fronts Alabama has faced all season. They're great at getting into the backfield. They disrupt everything, and I'm curious to see how they affect Ty Simpson. Alabama has already really struggled to run the ball, and against an elite front like this, I don't expect that to change. So that could have a major impact on the flow of this game. So I definitely think that Oklahoma is capable of pulling off the upset, at least more than LSU was. But I still think Alabama is going to win this game. Alabama has figured out how to win without running the ball well all season. Because of that, I'm not sure Oklahoma's run defense drastically changes how Alabama calls this game. And I think Ty Simpson is good enough to handle the pressure that Oklahoma is going to throw at him this entire game. Meanwhile, I still don't think that John Mateer is healthy enough to do what needs to be done in this game. And because of that, I think Alabama is better equipped to win this style of game we're going to see here. Plus, I think Alabama hits a few explosive plays that end up being the difference in this game. So yes, it could get dicey, but at the end of the day, I am taking Alabama to survive this game. And now let's talk about Notre Dame versus Pitt. What do you think Pitt's identity is? Because I suspect most people have not watched a lot of Pitt football this season, and they probably don't realize that Pitt is not the ground and pound type of team that they used to be. Instead, they are a shootout team. They cannot run the ball at all, but what they can do is throw it. They've got a true freshman quarterback that is just lighting it up through the air, but I also don't think he's faced a defense that is as good as what he's going to face on Saturday. So this is going to be a real test for him. The one thing that could work in Pitt's favor here is that Notre Dame secondary is where I think they are the most vulnerable. So if that freshman can stay composed, make the right reads, and get the ball to the right guys, I could absolutely see Pitt dragging Notre Dame into a track meet the way that A&M did. And if Pitt's offense holds up their end of the deal, their defense actually matches up pretty well against Notre Dame. Pitt has the number 3 run defense in the entire country, and we all know how much Notre Dame loves to run the ball. So that front is going to be put to the test. Something has to give there. If Pitt can contain Notre Dame's rushing attack, or at least limit it the way that they think that they can, and force Notre Dame to throw the ball, then things could get very interesting. Because I do trust CJ Carr to throw the ball if he has to. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the country, but Pitt is going to have to make him prove it. That's their path to winning this game. For Pitt to pull this off, they need it to be a shootout, not a condensed, low-scoring rock fight. But here's where I start to lean Notre Dame. I trust that Notre Dame's defense is going to create enough havoc to force that true freshman quarterback into a couple of key mistakes. And I don't fully trust the overall quality of Pitt as a team. They play in what I think is the worst conference in the country. And on top of that, Notre Dame needs this game more. They need it to cement their playoff stock, and if they lose here, that's it. For Pitt, this game doesn't matter nearly as much. Their only real path to the playoffs at this point is by winning the ACC, and this matchup doesn't even count as a conference game. So if you don't believe me, ask Pat Narduzzi. He literally said the other day that this game is not a must-win game, and that's not really inspiring much confidence in me as someone looking to pick this game. So with all that in mind, I am taking Notre Dame to go on the road and take care of business against Pitt. And last but not least, Iowa versus USC. And believe it or not, this is a ranked matchup. These two teams could not be more stylistically different. Now, I've said it a few times this year, USC does seem to be turning the tide a bit. They are starting to look like a team that actually can hang in these physical matchups, but I still don't think they're quite there yet. And Iowa is the ultimate physicality test. Plus, even though this game is being played in the Coliseum in California, it looks like Iowa might have brought the weather with them. We might be looking at another ugly, grinded-out game with a very rainy game. And if Iowa gets nothing more than a repeat of how the Oregon game went, I think Iowa can actually win this game this time. Oregon proved me wrong. They beat Iowa playing Iowa's brand of football, but I'm even less confident that USC can do that. Now, to be fair, it is not lost on me that USC out-physicaled Michigan earlier in the season, and they went on the road to beat Nebraska. So if USC does beat Iowa, not only will they continue changing the narrative about their toughness, they might also put themselves in the playoff conversation. So the question here is simple. Will Iowa get out-physicaled 2 weeks in a row? If this game were being played in sunny, perfect Southern California weather, I'd have no problem picking USC. But when it rains in LA, I'm not sure that USC knows what to do. And I think Iowa will be able to do everything they did against Oregon, but this time actually finish the job. So give me Iowa for the upset. That's all for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Peace.